We worship you. We worship you. We worship you. We worship you. We worship.
Sometimes the biggest strengths are found in unexpected places, like that quiet confidence you get from knowing your place, maybe, or the freedom when you just stop needing to prove yourself all the time. Today, we're diving into something related: humility. We often think of it as, well, maybe weakness. But what if it's actually this incredibly active, powerful force? Specifically, we're looking at how humility, according to the sources you shared, acts as a cornerstone for a person's relationship with God, particularly in the Christian faith.
Exactly. That's our mission today. We're going to unpack how humility isn't just some passive virtue, it's fundamental. We'll explore how it shapes that spiritual connection, starting from recognizing dependence all the way to fostering, a really intimate relationship with God. We'll pull out those key insights from the material we've got.
Okay, let's unpack this then. It's kind of a surprising perspective. So the sources, they describe humility in this specific context as really acknowledging your complete dependence on God. It's about recognizing his sovereignty, his ultimate authority, his massive wisdom, and his grace, that sort of unearned favor. It's a very active thing, this acknowledgement.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is that recognition of dependence part, how it highlights this really profound shift inside a person. Humility, as the sources explain it, helps you see that everything you have, everything you achieve, it's all viewed as a gift from God. And thinking like that, it fundamentally moves the focus away from self-pride. Instead, you feel this deep gratitude. It really pushes back against our natural tendency to think we're self-sufficient, doesn't it? And presents dependence as, the key to freedom and gratitude.
Right. So if recognizing dependence is the starting point, the foundation, how does this actually work? Like in practice, it can't just be a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because the sources also talk about openness to guidance. How does having a humble heart make you more receptive to God's instruction, willing to learn from the Bible, his word, and the Holy Spirit, God's presence guiding you? Precisely. And that openness is just crucial. It means you're actually allowing God to show you what's right, to teach his way instead of just stubbornly sticking to your own path, which leads us right into another really vital point: receiving grace. The material quotes the Bible directly here, James 4.6 and also 1 Peter 5.5, saying, God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. It's pretty direct. Wow. Opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. That's a powerful statement. I feel like that's where the practical side really hits home for you, the listener. What does it mean for humility to be a prerequisite for grace? That sounds fundamental.
It really is fundamental. That's where this whole idea gets truly transformative. It's not just presented as a nice theological thought. It's almost like a spiritual law, Humility isn't just encouraged. It's the condition that allows God's grace, his unearned help and favor, to actually flow into your life. So it's framed as absolutely necessary if you want to receive God's power and experience his exaltation, his lifting you up, which, according to these texts, doesn't come from trying harder yourself, but from that posture of surrender. If you connect that to the bigger picture, it's not just a nice bonus, it's essential.
Humility is the activator for divine grace. That's a lot to take in. Okay, so what does this mean long term? What are the deeper impacts if you cultivate this kind of humility? When you really adopt this posture, what kind of deeper connection with God do the sources actually describe?
Well, it definitely fosters a much deeper connection. The sources explain that humility lets you sort of lay down your own agenda, your own desires, and just humbly ask, okay, God, what do you have for me? That posture creates space for genuinely intimate relationships, something beyond just, duty or asking for things.
Right, moving past the transaction.
Exactly. And that intimacy, that closeness, it fuels spiritual growth. Through humility, you start to align yourself more with God's purposes, you experience his grace more readily, and you grow in what's often called spiritual maturity, a deeper understanding, a deeper living out of faith. And this isn't a one-off thing. It's presented as a daily practice, something that continually transforms how you relate to God and actually how you relate to other people too. It leads to ongoing growth.
That sounds like such a relief, honestly, that constant pressure so many of us feel. There's another benefit mentioned, something really tangible: peace and contentment. The sources say embracing humility frees you from constantly needing to prove yourself, which leads to inner peace, being content where you are, trusting God's plan. That's huge.
It is huge. It shifts your whole approach to life, really. And one more thing they highlight is worship and prayer. These are seen as natural expressions of humility. It's where you actively acknowledge God's greatness and your own need for him, for his presence. Which kind of brings up an interesting point, doesn't it? How do these practices, like worship and prayer not only come from humility, but also reinforce it. They seem to feed back into the cycle, deepening the connection over time.
Yeah, like they become both the result and the fuel.
Good point.
Yeah.
So, wrapping this up, the core message we're getting from these sources seems really clear. Humility isn't passive. It's positioned as a vital cornerstone for a meaningful, growing relationship with God. It allows His guidance to break through, His grace to flow, and ultimately it builds that deeper, more intimate spiritual connection.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought for you to consider is this. How might that daily practice, consciously recognizing your dependence, embracing openness, seeking that grace, how might that not only transform your own spiritual journey, but also how could it ripple outwards, affecting your interactions with others, your sense of peace, just your contentment in everyday life, something to mull over.